Charles Bassey got himself a new contract with the Spurs. Let's talk about that.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hopefully everybody's having a great work week, and we're here to get you going on this new episode of Locked On Spurs. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day, free and available wherever you get podcasts. So what are we talking about today? Well, as you heard a little while ago, Charles Bassey, he got himself a nice surprise recently as the team and him agreed to not a two-way deal, but a full NBA guaranteed contract. We're going to look at some of the numbers. Why is this a good move? What it means for him and the Spurs moving forward. Also going to give a love to Malaki Branham. And if time permitting, hopefully there isn't, but if there is, we'll talk about a possible franchise record, but not in a good way. Who's joining me today? He is Rudy Campos of Sweep the League, who's never been on the 13-game losing streak ever in his life. You're not like that.
Never.
You're a winner, Rudy.
Yeah, I'm a winner, and I get to do what I want to do all the time. Never have had a 13-game losing streak. I've never lost back-to-back games, so I pride myself in that.
No, everybody knows you're a bowler. Like, you love bowling, you're pretty good. Have you ever been on a losing streak bowling? Like, have you ever had one of those nights or days?
I don't know what would be considered a losing streak in bowling, like if you don't win the tournament every single time you bowl, but
Yeah.
I've had bad weeks, put it that way. I've had multiple weeks, like a couple of months. So I would say yes, I've had a kind of a losing streak on that.
Oh, hopefully they're far and few between, but yeah. Again, again, everybody, we're recording this before the game versus Charlotte yesterday. So we were debating whether or not to talk about a possible record. Well, you know what? We'll get into that in a while. Make sure to follow Rudy on Twitter at Sweep the League, and he'll be talking about his show, Sweep the League, in just a few minutes. But let's dive into it. So big news for Charles Bassey, the hometown kid from San Antonio. He signed a fully guaranteed NBA contract with the Spurs a couple of days ago. He has been playing a lot of this season in the G League with the Austin Spurs. He was on a two-way contract. That's no more. Your reaction when you heard the news that Bassey is in for the long haul?
Man, you're gonna get me killed on this, but I was fine with the extension. You know, he's going on a 4-year, $10.2 million deal, 5.2 of it guaranteed. I'm fine with it, but I don't really buy too much into it other than the fact that they need another big guy, and it's a very friendly, and I mean friendly contract when it comes to a trade piece probably in the off season or future seasons. It's a contract that is not very big at all. So I'm glad he signed for the long haul, but again, it's nothing that I was too excited as far as him being, the main guy for the Spurs or anything like that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's exactly what I was going to say. And look, that was my reaction was, well, this is going to be a nice flippable player. It is.
Mm-hmm.
If they're going to continue with the rebuild. And look, yes, you're right. They need help. You trade away Pirtle. Zach Collins is playing well, but he's been getting into foul trouble. And the depth at big man spot is depleted. Sure, there's Gorgie Deng, but Bassey does present a different look for the Spurs. He's a bouncy, big, young, athletic. But you're right. If we're looking at the financial side of things and where the state of the Spurs, in this rebuild, yeah, I mean, you could possibly see him as that extra player in a deal, couldn't you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a young guy. He's had a really good G League experience. He's averaging like 22 points in the G League. But as far as flippable pieces, he's that one contract that you've got to throw in a player somewhere to make the numbers work. That's that number. It's a very favorable contract. And of course, if it's something that is not flipped, then he's a good piece for the Spurs. I mean, they do need a big man. He's a very athletic big man. He's still developing. He still has a lot of room for improvement. But again, the numbers will match and will work for just about any trade piece if it needs to happen sooner or later than the Spurs.
Yeah, and again, as mentioned earlier, he is a hometown kid. He went to St. Anthony's, I believe, in San Antonio. So
yes, he went to St. Anthony's.
Yeah, so he's there, but played with the Philadelphia 76ers. I think he was drafted by the Sixers as well.
Mhm.
So back a couple of years ago. But as far as this season is concerned, in 25 San Antonio Spurs games, 13 minutes per game, 4.7 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and he's shooting about 67%, albeit that's all in the paint. Is not known for his outside shot, though. Rudy, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely something that he's got to work on. He's got the ability to be a stretch big, but it's going to take a lot of work. We've only seen him, score double digits in 2 games. One was against Memphis and the Rockets. Outside of that, he's only been able to get double digits in rebounds. It was 14 against Milwaukee. So I mean, not really, I guess shining the sunlight on his game and with the San Antonio Spurs, but definitely a developing piece for the San Antonio Spurs. Working on that jump shot's going to be able to open up his game a lot more. It's going to help the Spurs if he does that. But it's something that I really don't count on happening anytime soon, to be honest.
Yeah, the last time he played with San Antonio was back in February 13th, just a couple of days ago, versus Cleveland. Logged 6 points, 8 rebounds in 12 minutes. So kudos to him. But all in all, look, I think a very safe signing. It didn't really hurt the Spurs salary cap. I don't think anything will. I mean, the amount of money they've been able to amass heading into the offseason, even in the trade deadline, and they made deals where they freed up more money for themselves. So, yeah, again, not really going to hamper that aspect of the Spurs financial papers there. But I do like the signing. I think he is possibly that gem, that needle in the haystack they found. Kind of like, I remember when they found Bryn Forbes in the summer league and they brought him in, and for a while he was a pretty good player. Danny Green, the same thing. Finding these gems, and they're going to have to as they rebuild moving forward. But and also too, Rudy's not forget. It's just going to be him and Sohan representing the Spurs at All-Star Weekend. He is a G League All-Star. So there's that, Rudy.
Yeah, he is a G League All-Star. Like I mentioned, I mean, he put up 22 points a game in the G League. So, I mean, 9 rebounds. I mean, he was shooting 68% from the field there. So, I mean, he had a really fantastic G League experience. I know a lot of times what I guess fans need to understand is that, especially in the big man position in the G League, it doesn't always trans well over to the NBA. The G League is meant a lot of time for guards, kind of like perimeter play, stuff like that. So it's really to develop guards and small forwards, definitely stretch bigs, which Bassey's really not right now. But hey, he is an all-star for the G League. That's major kudos and congratulations to him. It's going to be a fun all-star weekend coming up.
Yeah, and the fact that he's not a stretch big leads me to not invest in a Bassey jersey, Spurs jersey, because he doesn't fit that mold of what the modern NBA big is supposed to be doing, which is knocking down perimeter shots. I mean, look at Wembanyama. I mean, the guy's shooting from the logo, half court, and that's what they do now. Zach Collins is starting to show a little bit that he can hit an outside three. You look at Joker in Denver, hits the outside three. Bassey doesn't. But hey, you know what? I mean, still safe signing, good signing. I like it. Congratulations to Mr. Bassey. When we get back, we're going to give some spotlight to Malaki Branham. The kid has been playing very, very good. And it's time to see what exactly he's been doing for the Spurs, despite them being in a losing streak. Once again, we're here with Rudy Campos with Sweep the League. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. But hey, I want to take time to talk to you about FanDuel. It's the midway point of the NBA season. It's here. Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. Just download FanDuel Sports app. It's safe, it's secure, super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to points scored to even threes drained. You can even build bets. Yeah, exactly. You heard that right. Like, for example, 2 3-pointers scored in the first 3 minutes. Yeah, they got a lot of exclusive bets over at FanDuel. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combo your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with same game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to fanduel.com/locked on. That's fanduel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Autobots, roll out.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League and the guy who scoffs at losing streaks. Losing streaks don't exist in this dojo, do they, Mr.
No
Rudy
sensei.
Campos? They
No
don't
sensei.
at all. By the way, how has your bowling game been so far? Been all right?
It's getting better since I tell the story since I've lost a lot of weight. Bowling has really been a struggle for me, and it actually plays a big part into it. So it's coming back around. I'm actually doing a lot better. So I'm getting a little bit more money like I used to on certain league nights and tournaments.
Like you bet on your games? Am I hear that right? Like y'all do wagers?
Yeah. So if the IRS isn't listening, we do end up betting on ourselves. They have individual brackets. They've got just a lot of stuff. So nightly, you can walk away with a pretty good amount of money nightly. Just FYI.
I see your little side hustle there. You're what the color Tom Cruise in The Color of Money, that side hustle that he did with the pool hall. But anyway, let's get back to silver and black talk and give some love to Malaki Branham. Now, all eyes have been on Sohan, and rightfully so. Number 9 pick. He's been doing well, and look, he's going to the Rising Stars. So kudos. But in the shadows, and maybe coming out of the shadows, is Malaki Branham. He's been playing very well of late, showing off his perimeter shooting, showing off his instant offense, even getting love from Darius Garland of the Cavaliers. What have you been seeing out of Malaki in these recent games, Rudy?
So before I get into the February month, which we are currently in, his overall stats, he's averaging 8.8 points a game, 30% from three-point range, 43% from the field overall. And that's something that I was expecting to see a Malaki when he got drafted. Again, we're talking about a guy who should have been a lottery pick. There's no reason why he should not have gone in the lottery, but for Spurs' sakes, were able to get him late in the first round. And he's actually proving why he should have been a lottery pick. When he's been getting significant minutes, and we're talking 32 minutes in the month of February, he's averaging 17.4 points, 3.6 boards, 2.9 assists, but importantly, 40% from three-point range. That is huge. He's only had one game this month where he's been down to under double digits, and that's 4 points against Toronto, but bounced back right away the next night with 27 against Detroit. Kid can shoot, kid can score. He's not being asked to do a whole lot, which makes a lot of sense because you've got guys like Keldon and Jeremy doing a lot of the lifting. Malaki is able to develop. He's able to just get into his groove and get into his game right away and just at his own pace. So that's what's beneficial for Pop and the coaching staff to see his development. I expect him to start the rest of the year, FYI.
Yeah, look, there's not going to be any G League at all for him. Popovich made that very clear. He's not going to be going back to Austin. I don't even think maybe he went there once. If I recall, I think it was quick, but he hasn't been back since, and that's a good sign. Look, not only do the Spurs have no choice but to play these young guns, they got to see what they have, but it's been paying off. You mentioned the scoring. Yeah, he had that one, bad shooting night against Toronto recently, but in the last 7 games, he's scored in double figures 6 times. He's matched his career high twice. 26 versus Philly. Then he went out against Detroit in that double overtime game with 27 points. Instant offense. Darius Garland, after the game versus the Cavs, pulled him and Blake Wesley aside and just giving them props, saying, keep up the good work. Y'all are on the right path. So that's good to hear. But I look at his game, and especially afterwards when nights are over and whatnot, and he's on that media desk or the press desk talking to media, and he's very unflappable. He's not down, he's not upset, very even keel. Popovich even said that he's way ahead than what the team projected he would be at this point. That's a good sign, especially in a rebuild. And 3-point shots, he's made 2 or more in the last 3 games. So he's knocking down the 3, which we know is a premium in today's NBA. It's just that offense that I think they like. Silky smooth, nothing flashy. Just goes in and gets the job done. I had a chance to talk to Stanley Johnson before he got waived by the Spurs, and he said that he likes that Malaki has that bounce back part of his game. So, for example, that game versus Toronto, 4 points in 28 minutes, bad shooting night for him, 2 for 8, but bounced back with a career high against Detroit, 27 points. So that's what Stanley Johnson told me, that's what he takes away as he watches Malaki Branham, at least for the time he was a Spur. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean he's shown that he can bounce back, especially like I said after that Toronto game, and we've seen games over in January. I mean he only averaged 7.8 points a game in January, but was still getting the minutes, 21 minutes from the San Antonio Spurs, and you saw games where he would get double digits, have not quite a good scoring night the next night, bounce back to double digits. It just shows the confidence that he has in his game, and it is actually mirroring what the Spurs have in confidence with him. Everybody's believing in the kid, and good thing you brought up Blake Wesley. He's been having a little bit of a struggle lately, but of course, coming back from injury, it's going to happen. But with this draft that the Spurs have with Sohan, Wesley, and Branham, shows that they got a nice, group of guys out of this draft that's going to be able to help them with the rebuild process. Not very quickly, but it's on the right path. And what I see with Branham is continued success with him. He's going to have some really good games. We're on the tail end part of the season, so I expect to see him get at least 20 points a game, quite a few times actually towards the end of the year. And what I really think, and it's not really a knock on Devin or talking bad about him, but with the Devin Vassell injury, it's really elevated Malaki to another level that we didn't expect to see him and see in his rookie season. So if Devin is out for the remainder of the year, it's not a problem. Malaki Branham will get those minutes, and he's going to actually use them.
Yeah. Look, you don't like to see Vassell get hurt, but those minutes have allowed Malaki to really blossom, really get some NBA experience. So that's good for him. Yeah, I expect him to only have an upward climb this rest of the season. Look, Spurs fans, there's only a little over 20 games left. The misery's almost over. So don't worry about it. Hang in there. But you want to use these last 20-something games to let him, Wesley, Keldon too. I think Keldon Johnson's season has been very interesting, Rudy. Very interesting. But that's for a whole other topic on Locked On Spurs. But nevertheless, you look at Malaki and great find. The Spurs did it again in the draft. You mentioned it right now. How did he slip so far into the first round? I mean, deep first round. Good thing the Spurs were smart enough to get him. How do you project his? I mean, I know it's just not even a full season yet, 2/3 of a season. But what do you think his ceiling will be? Just kind of a straight gunner kind of guy? Where do you see his evolution?
If you were to put how high of a ceiling he could possibly reach, he's definitely a scorer, probably along the lines, and I'm going to go kind of old school, so I hope Spurs fans would remember, but I could easily see a poor guy as Monte Ellis from back in the day. Guy that can score pretty quick, very creative with the ball. He can shoot the ball. He can get his points, but he's never going to be that superstar status or that big-time star status, even though Monte Ellis had a whole lot of, love and he was getting, star status. I think as far as a player goes, he could be that kind of player. Even at the low end, I expect him to be fully like Danny Green, to be honest with you. Just a guy that can shoot the ball, come in, score, get you 20, because we saw Danny get you 20 points every now and then, 15, 17, get to the basket, just kind of doing the little things. But I really expect him to be right around maybe hovering the Monte Ellis type player.
Yeah, for example. I definitely like that example. I think it's good. And not a bad thing. I mean, Monte Ellis was a scorer. I mean, that guy could light it up in an instant. And look, Darius Garland's already recognizing that there's something there with Malaki, and we're definitely seeing it. So, yeah, I mean, really good, stuff that we're seeing from Branham. I think he's only going to get better. And to get Popovich's a seal of approval is just extraordinary. Yeah. And look, career highs this month. You highlighted it in points per game, 17.4. Career highs in rebounding. He's upped it to 3.6 this month, 7 games played in February. Even his assists have gone up nearly 3 at 2.9. So the trajectory is going the right way for Branham. Hey, we're not done talking. When we get back, I talk about a losing streak. Something foreign for Rudy Campos. He doesn't know what a losing streak is. He doesn't know what losing means, but we'll get him to talk about that in just a few minutes right here with Rudy Campos of Sweep the League.
Autobots, roll out.
We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Rudy Campos. Follow him on Twitter at Sweep the League. So, again, let's preface this. This is recorded before the Hornets game. But the way things have been going, Rudy, L's are racking up fast, and yay, team tank. But the Spurs could be on the wrong end of history by the time people are listening to this if they lost to the Hornets last night. And if they did, that's 14 losses in a row, a franchise record. I think it was the late 80s is when the Spurs dropped 13 in a row. I guess, I mean, would you say this has been the worst season for Popovich ever?
100%. For Pop, This has been the worst season, 100%. Where's Bob Hill when you need him? But this is the worst season for Pop, hands down, and I don't even think he would deny that.
Yeah, it's been rough. And look, as teased earlier, the season's almost over, just a little over 20-something games. And I always say that the real season for the Spurs for this season begins in the offseason, if that makes sense. I think the offseason is when fans should be excited because that's what everybody's looking forward to. What are they going to do with all that money? What are they going to do with if the basketball gods smile on them and they get picks 1 or 2? Or worst case, Rudy, 3 or less. Are you going to be jumping off a cliff if the Spurs get picks 3 or lower?
No, I'm not. I'm going to be pretty ecstatic. The only reason why I would jump off a cliff is because they would lose out on the Scoot Henderson pick. But
that's what I'm saying.
Third pick,
that's what I'm saying. Like to say they miss out on picks 1 and 2. They go to Houston and whoever, Detroit, and then picking number 3 is Spurs. I mean, you lost out on those generational talents. You lost likely.
Now I'm satisfied with 3. I would be satisfied with 4 or 5, anything like that. The one thing that this draft has, and I'm gonna just flat out say it, they call Wemby generational, they call Scoot generational. They're both gonna be magnificent talents, but there's really no generational talent in this draft. So I'm good wherever they draft.
Even at 5, even if they land at 5.
Even at 5. I mean, you're going to have players. This draft is going to be full of players that are going to be, it's all potential. This draft is all potential. It's not superstar hype. It's nothing like that. It's all potential. You're going to get a player who can come in, help your team. Is they going to turn the team or franchise around? No, they're not.
Even Wemby and Scoot, you don't think so?
Oh, God, man, you're going to kill me on this. So I've done a lot of research, and I've watched a ton more game film on Wemby. And I'm really a lot lower than a lot of people are when it comes to Wembanyama. I'm a lot higher on Scoot Henderson for the San Antonio Spurs. But, again, if you got the number 1 pick, you're going to probably end up taking Wembanyama no matter what. So, it's been a tough go-around for me on all of these game films that I'm watching.
Wow. No, I think it's win-win for the Spurs. And I think – they Wemby or Scoot shorten that rebuild fast. Maybe not overnight, but definitely a season and a half. There'll be must-watch TV. So the Spurs will be in a lot more national TV televised games. I think it's just that type of impact will happen fast. More Spurs games on TV. Perhaps more spotlights on the Spurs. So I think it'll be that type of instant transformation. But as far as playoff success, I think that'll still take time. But yeah, possibly at this time, everybody's listening in right now, possible 14-game losing streak. I thought I'd never see it. Not in the Popovich era. Ever. Hopefully they didn't. Hopefully they just tied it and they got a W versus the Hornets. But as of this recording, they're in the top 2 worst records in the NBA, Rudy. So yay, I guess. Yay.
Yeah, I mean, considering the NBA lottery is not a guaranteed system, I mean, you could end up with the worst pick, I guess, record in the league and still get, the second pick or even the third pick. So, I mean, it's possible. So, I guess give yourself the extra chances at number one. I guess that's a great thing. But I know when you and I last talked on Locked On, I said the only 2 games they could possibly win on the Rodeo Road Street are the Detroit game, which they lost, and the Charlotte game, which I picked them to lose. So I'm going to stick with it. And I'm actually going to say that before we can even think and smell of a win or even get the look of a win out of a window, I'm thinking it's going to be 18 in a row before it's all said and done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. That is not.
But again, that's if they lost to Charlotte. We don't know yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We don't know yet. Hey, but we can't let you go without you giving us some past players. What you got?
So I started looking at autographs, like whose autographs have I owned or still own? And I've got a Sean Elliott passport. I've got Vinny Del Negro. And I've got players such as Paul Pressey. I have his autograph at my house, of all people. I've even got, I don't know, he's not a former, I don't know, I don't know how to get it, but I got Swen Nader from way back in the day. Kobe Dietrich.
Wow.
Yeah, I got Kobe Dietrich. And I've got Danny Ferry. And I've got the infamous one, and this is weird. The Spurs were giving out a handkerchief one night when we were at the Dome. And it was like a USA handkerchief, and I had one. Gregory Popovich signed that. So
get out.
Greg Popovich and Danny Ferry were on that, and that was Tony Parker's rookie year because I got Tony's autograph on a basketball that night. So, yeah, former Spurs, Paul Pressey, Swen Nader, Kobe Dietrich, and I also found, which I didn't believe I had, I still have it, and I'm glad I do, is one of my favorite players, which was Johnny Moore, 00.
Johnny
himself.
Moore, yeah, still around. He was. I think the Spurs honored him in one of the games during the 50th celebration thing. So yeah, he's still active in the San Antonio community. Yeah, but a lot of greats in the Spurs history. Rudy, what's going on with Sweep? Tell us.
Yeah, Sweep, we're actually doing a lot of NFL content because the NFL draft is coming up. We've actually started shifting gears to NBA draft content. So we're just putting out a lot of prospects, getting out a lot of content, talking to a lot of writers all over the country. We're going to get some NBA writers as well to come on Sweep the League. So be sure to follow us on Twitter. Go to wherever podcasts are available. Subscribe to Sweep the League because you're not going to want to miss all these prospects coming out, as well as our regular show, which we continue to just fly off the rails on.
There you go. Another reason for you to follow Rudy on Twitter at Sweep the League. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Again, free and available wherever you get podcasts, such as the Odyssey app, YouTube, the Kins 5 Plus app. Yeah, just wherever you get podcasts. Second listen, check out Game to Game NBA. Every moment, every top performance, every result. Locked On Game to Game covers every game from across the NBA with local analysis that only Locked On can deliver. So for Rudy, never lost Campos, I am Jeff Garcia. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.